Has been a very interesting week. Today is day 5. And on the first day, day 1, we had Joe Wisdom with us, and he was telling us about wisdom in relationships. Day 2, we had Coach Caroline, who was talking to us about self-love. On day 3, we had Coach Paps, who was talking to us about children and blended families. And yesterday, day 4, we had Coach Ruth, who was talking to us about healing from bad relationships. Love After 40 Challenge is a group of young people, well, not exactly young, they're 40 plus, who have single through one reason or another by choice, maybe divorced, separated, or widowed, and they want to go to the next level of finding another relationship. But the rules are different for over 40s as opposed to when we were younger. And there are different challenges. People come into relationships with experience from different relationship types. And we were looking at how do we approach the relationships that we want to have? What should we be looking out for? How can we be able to bond with somebody else, even with the relationships, with the experience that we have come across? So thank you very much for joining us on this last day of our challenge. And today is a question and answer session. I'll be asking some questions and the coaches can answer them. And if any of the people who are listening in would like a specific question asked, please write it down in the comments and we can also ask it along. So ladies, Joe Wisdom is not here with us yet, but he will join us as we go along. The first question I have is, there's some people who joined the group who are over 50, and they are asking, are the rules that we have been talking about this whole week, do they also apply to over 50s or only over 40s? Maybe Coach Ruth can answer that for us.
Yeah, I think the rules apply to everyone. For example, if you look at the area that I covered about healing from pain, pain is pain. You will experience pain at 20, pain at 40, pain at 50, pain at 60. So if you haven't addressed your past relationships and the pain that they caused you, your adverse childhood experiences, they will affect you at any age. So the healing principles and the healing that I talked about yesterday applies for everyone. I hope I've answered. Yes.
Thank you. Does Coach Caroline or Coach Paps have anything to add? Over 50s, do the rules apply to them too, or are they different? Are they gotten to a stage where they feel, you know what, relationships are not for me. I've been single for too long. I can do this thing on my own. What do you think?
They do
Let me take
apply.
it.
Like what Kate
Go,
is
Carol.
saying, they do apply. They do apply. I think I have a feedback issue. But I think the rules do apply. I was talking about self-love, and that doesn't stop. And it's not just with people in relationship. What I was talking about aligns with everybody, whether you're in a relationship or not, whether, what I was talking about. Of course, I talked about getting into a relationship and how self-love comes in. But I believe even as you get older, it applies more because you have more responsibilities, you have more commitments. So I believe, it applies to them as well.
Thank you. Coach Babs?
Yeah, so on the blended family, I think the likelihood of being over 50 and both of you have children is even higher. And the fact that your children are older, probably they are teens or they're probably young adults or even older. I gave an example of one of my clients who is 60 something and she's looking forward to just come back to dating and loving. And if her children are in their 40s, I said whether it's a 4-year-old or a 40-year-old, the principle still applies because they're still children. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Coach Caroline, this question is for you. Some people say they're introverts. They go to work, go to church, go home. How can we help them find a social life and get out there and meet people?
Wow, that's a very good question because I think it's something that ails a lot of people, especially after you've been through rough relationship. Sometimes even saying you're an introvert, sometimes it's a reason for you not to go because maybe you've been disappointed a lot of times and you're thinking, trying is too emotionally charged for me. I don't want to keep putting myself out there. But what I want to tell people is you have to look at the outcome that you want and what are the most actions that will most likely give you the result that you want. So I saw a meme somewhere and they were saying, "Oh, I'm sitting here in my house watching Netflix, eating popcorn, waiting for my soulmate to jump through the window and find me." And I laughed. But then that's how sometimes it is.
Yeah.
People are like, you want somebody, you're frustrated that you have nobody, but then the actions that you're taking are not going to give you the result that you want. So even if you're an introvert, think about it that you're not in a vacuum. You live in a society, in a community. You need to expose yourself to the extent that you're comfortable. You don't have to go to a loud dancing club with so many people. Find things that are just a little bit out of your comfort zone and then meet new people there, or even try online because you don't have to leave your house while you're online. But then when you connect with somebody, of course, you have to meet them physically, so you'll end up leaving the house anyway. So go over your characteristics or whatever it is that you have labeled yourself that is preventing you from getting the result that you want.
Okay, thank you for that. You mentioned online. Just a follow up to that. Online dating. Good, bad, maybe. Do you have any thoughts or ideas on that?
It's none of that. It's neutral. It's neutral. It's just about your intention. It's just about your own thinking. Everything is neutral. There are people who have met people online and they have had relationships that have lasted for a long time, beautiful relationships. There are others who have met online and they've been conned, they've been duped. So even in real life, you can't say real life is good or bad because there are people who met in real life and they have very good, amazing relationships, and others met crazy people in real life. So it's really about and interrogating yourself. Is it for you? Do you feel comfortable meeting people online, and what works for you? Because even there you have to set boundaries so that you're not doing something just because it's done. You're doing something that aligns with you and works for you. And also, what's your intention? That's the other thing. So if you have a good intention, you have proper boundaries, you've done the work that all the coaches here were saying, then you can give it a try if you feel like you want to.
Thank you for that. When you talk about boundaries, Coach Ruth, tell us a bit about boundaries. We hear the word boundaries, boundaries. Maybe you can explain to us a bit more what boundaries are about.
I think for me, boundaries, and boundaries are for all relationships. It's not just romantic relationships. Boundaries are, you must have boundaries with, even with yourself. You know, the things that you tell yourself, this one I'm not doing, this one I'm doing. I think the boundaries is the ability to say yes to what you want, not to what you don't want, so as to support yourself, to support your vision, to empower yourself to become the kind of a person that you want to become. So, especially now it comes to romantic relationships, you really must be clear on what works for me and what doesn't. Is this relationship serving me? Yes or no? In what ways is it serving me? A, B, C, D. In what ways is it not serving me? A, B, C, D. So am I able to compromise on A, B, C, D? Yes or no? So then you tell your partner, you know what, when you do this, I don't like. Or when I'm going into the dating scene, XYZ kind of a man or XYZ kind of a woman is not my kind of a woman. So that again, you're not meeting everybody, you're not trying to go out with everybody. Where you really know this is not my kind. So that boundaries is the ability to say this doesn't support me or this supports me. So I'm able to say yes to what supports me and to no to what does not support or empower me. And I also wanted to add something into that thing about being an introvert. Being an introvert is not a disease. I think people need to stop looking at being an introvert like a bad thing. So I'm this introvert, so this is bad. It's not bad. Would you believe I'm an introvert?
Oh,
I
wow.
was not aware. Yeah, I'm an introvert. By then, I'm an introvert, and for a long time, I struggled because I thought being an introvert is something negative. It is not. Actually, what holds you back is the story you tell yourself about your introversion or past trauma that makes you think you're not worthy to show up. Show up as an introvert. There are some people who are really looking for other introverted beings. So being an introvert is not a disease, it's not a weakness, it's not a defect. Embrace it, embrace your introversion. For me, I can't go to a loud club. I don't like noisy places. I don't like crowded spaces. And I have a challenge when I'm meeting a new people. But every time I feel like I want to hold back, I ask myself, Ruth, why are you stepping backwards? Are you afraid? Are you afraid of something? Are you filled with shame? So once I ask myself those questions, I remind myself that I'm awesome the way I am. I'm lovely the way I am. So I'll show up. So for those who are embracing introverts, they'll embrace me. Those who don't embrace introverts won't. And now, surprising, when you get to know me, you realize, you know what? She's cool. So introversion is not a disease.
It's not introverts. Introvert is not, when you're an introvert, it's not bad. It's okay.
It's
You're good
okay
enough.
to be an introvert. Thrive in your introversion. Thrive in it. Who said everybody
Okay.
has to be so loud and out there?
Yes.
Yeah, so we are.
Okay, Coach Pabs, give us your views, boundaries, online dating, introverts.
Let me talk on behalf of all the extroverts. Extroverts will say, yay, we are the noisy people. I couldn't wait to talk. Anyways, um, for me, one of the perspectives I also have in terms of introversion or extroversion is how did you end up labeling yourself either? Or was it an assessment you took? Was it a self-awareness journey? Because sometimes we just throw these labels on, but if you don't, you've not even known and got to discover who you are. And so maybe you are hurt, you learned how to curve in. Like personally, I used to show up as an introvert when I was a teenager, but it's because I had been really shut down. Like in my childhood, uko na kierere, nini, nini, and then I learned to suppress and to not talk because I wanted to fit in. And so before you even label yourself, I'm an introvert or extrovert, first of all, do the self work that probably Caro and Ruth really emphasized on, so that you are your authentic self. First of all, allow yourself to bloom in the most comfortable and authentic self that you are. And in my book, The Reconfidence, Get Your Bold Back, there's a whole chapter on where I'm having this conversation on personality, and I was actually saying there are some people who are introverts but they show up as extroverts because you want to deflect people from yourself. Like I would have a conversation with someone who will talk the entire time. I had a friend, mkikutana naye atakuchapia story hataki uonge. You don't even have places to come in, and the way me I know how to come in, like there is no breathers. And of course it's because she's trying to deflect the attention from herself. And then there are also people who are extroverts, and they really thrive. Like even when you're around people, you can actually feel the excitement, but you keep on playing out as an introvert. And so you need to do the self work so that you are comfortable first of all with yourself before you say I'm an introvert extrovert. Do assessments. Go and work with a therapist, or a coach, so that you can come to a place where you're defining your healthiest self, and that is your most confident version. And then now, when you're comfortable in your own skin, the way Ruth is saying, you will learn to be comfortable around anyone. For me, I am loud and I don't apologize. Like Kitambo, when I was young, I used to be very apologetic. You try to minimize yourself. Nowadays, I'm just like, I'm here. Nime show up. Niko na story. Who is coming? And so, first of all, define yourself, deal with everything, and then now call yourself that person that you are when you're healthy, you are healed. That is the person that you will probably take to the world, take to your relationships. Define yourself, and then also show up in the best version of yourself. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Tabitha asks, how do you deal with low self-esteem and shyness? Coach
Yeah, coach
Carol?
anybody.
Coach anybody.
Yeah, I think we will just pop whoever has the answers. Yeah,
Yes,
Carol, go.
whoever has the answer. How to deal with low self-esteem and shyness?
Okay, what I can say is you have to do like what Coach Ruth is saying, and even Coach Paps has mentioned it. Self-awareness is so important. Where is the the root of this. Where is this coming from? Where is the self-esteem coming from? Because sometimes self-esteem is not the issue. Maybe there is something else that is, it's a symptom of something else that is rooted deeper in maybe your childhood experiences, in maybe a trauma that you're holding within you. And if you don't deal with that, no matter how much you train yourself, you go to self-esteem high school, you will not deal with it. So find the genesis of it, uproot it from the core, because nobody is born with a low self-esteem. Have you ever seen a child, a baby, a 3-year-old with low self-esteem?
Yeah, no,
None.
definitely not.
They all
Yeah.
are here. They're like, we are here in our own way. Like even the quiet ones, they don't care what you think. They are just, they know that they are okay the way they are. So who taught you that you're not okay? Who taught you that you're less than anybody? And where did you learn that? And how can you begin to unlearn that? So for me, my advice would be, find a way to do the work. Like Coach Paps is saying, find a therapist, find a coach, and begin to find the root of that, because it's just a symptom.
So a lot of these things are labels, as Coach Pap says. There are words that go around and we give ourselves a label like I have lower self-esteem, I am an introvert, but none of this is actually true or real. It's just that when people talk to us and we think, yeah, they said this, they said that, they must be right. Let me continue with you, Coach Caroline. You had spoken about conflict resolution and you mentioned triggers in conflict resolution. Could you define for us what triggers are and also give us an example of what they may be like?
Okay, so I love using analogies. I'm a storyteller
Yeah,
also, like Coach Paps
yeah.
somehow. So I so imagine that you're walking somewhere and you step on something. And then when you step on something, you see a house 1 kilometer away exploding. You see, what has happened is you have stepped on something that was connected to another thing in that house that has caused the house to explode. So triggers are these things that we encounter in our daily relationships, that there are experiences or interactions that cause a deeper wound that is silently sitting in our psyche to manifest physically. So for example, somebody you really like tells you that they are not interested in you. Yeah, that's something that happens a lot of the times. I know guys experience that a lot a lot of the times.
Yeah,
The guys who are coming to our DMs and hiring us for 3 years in a row, and we are not responding. So
yeah.
somebody you really like tells you hi, or says they are not interested in you. But then what happens to you is that takes you back to another rejection that has nothing to do with what has happened here. It's a rejection maybe by your mother when you are small, or your father, some primary caregiver, and it brings up the old pain. And remember, the old pain is usually bigger than the pain you're experiencing right now in this current event. And because you are small, you are less than 7 years old, for example, and you got this big emotion from being rejected by somebody who is providing shelter, food. Basically, it felt to your body as if you are going to die. So your body did its protective mechanism and stopped the pain from running through your system, and it kept it dormant somewhere. But then this guy that really likes you tells you, I'm sorry, I'm not interested, you're not my type. And that goes to that old pain. And that old pain feels as if it's that day you are rejected by your mom. So the thing that will tell you it's a trigger is that it looks like an overreaction. The emotions feel bigger, the magnitude of the emotions are bigger than what has actually happened in this moment. So that's what I can say about triggers.
Thank you for that. Coach Ruth, yesterday you told us about narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. Could you define for us what a narcissist is and how we can recognize them, and is it, I don't know whether it's gender based, whether we always refer to narcissists as the men. Are there women also? Please tell us a bit about that.
Well, everyone has some level of narcissistic tendencies. So for someone to be labeled a narcissist, they have to be, I think the scale is normally 1 to 40. So if you are anything over 15 going upwards, then now your narcissistic tendencies are a bit, they are worrying. But narcissism is a personality disorder. And what happens is that a narcissist has no empathy, the ability to connect with people and their emotions. So the narcissist will hurt you so deeply, but they have no capacity to feel your pain. So you'll find yourself that in a relationship with a narcissist, you are like alone. You're trying to explain to someone that whatever it is they are doing is hurtful to you, and they don't seem to get it. They don't seem to get it. And what I like to say that for me, the epitome of narcissism and what makes it dangerous is that lack of empathy and their high sense of grandiosity. Remember, it's a disorder. So they view themselves as higher than life. And for people who have interacted with narcissists can understand what I'm saying. They view themselves as higher than life. Actually, I like to say for a narcissist, it's normally God, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the narcissist. So it becomes completely impossible for this someone to hear you, to see you, to view you as a human being, to even see their mistakes, to apologize. It becomes completely impossible. Then they are pathological liars. Wow. So they will lie about big, small, important and important things. And that sense of grandiosity also hinders them from being able to connect with other humans, to love other humans. Actually, the narcissist only cares about themselves.
Wow.
So it's a very damaging relationship, because we come to the relationships based of mutual connection, mutual respect. Those things don't happen in a relationship with a narcissist. They don't. And you will talk about it, you'll cry, they'll look at you and see exactly why are you crying now. That time they have done something so bad to you. So they have no ability to connect with those emotions. Okay. And I'm sorry, and they're also a bit malicious. So some of these things, they'll do them knowingly because they're looking for supply, because they are normally, it's trauma. Yesterday I talked about ways in which trauma manifests.
Yes.
Then theirs is force empowerment. So to be able to cover up for their trauma and their shame, they want to come and control and dominate other humans.
Wow.
So it's normally a trauma response for them. It's a childhood issue. You see the upbringing that we're talking about. It's a childhood issue, family of origin issues mainly. So this person shows up, and the only way to cater for their shame, the shame they are feeling inside, is to dominate and control other people. And it's destructive if you're on the receiving end.
Oh.
Yes.
That is interesting information, and we shall keep that in mind when we go ahead and look for people.
Yeah, please don't date naive. Don't date naive.
Yes. We have to learn about these things. Coach Paps, you spoke about the role of compartments and common ground. Maybe you can explain what you meant and in which context, and then is there a difference in the two areas?
Yeah. So this was on blended families, and we said that initially when you come together, you need to first of all understand that these are standalone pieces that you want to blend in. And we said that the blender method cannot work. Much as they are called blended family, you should realize that a blender has blades. And it means that you need to cut down some people to size for that relationship or context to work. So when you think about compartments, it's to keep still those relationships that have been there for longer. Just keep them as they are. For example, if you're the one who was reading maybe bedtime stories for your children still keep on reading for them. Don't just throw your partner on the deep end and it's like, "Kendo kamsomendi on bond." If that is something that had been happening for 10 years, your child might still prefer you to do it. So keep on having those relationships as standalones. Keep on having your dating relationship even beyond the family. Don't just put in everyone. Even sometimes when there are more children involved from other families, don't always assume like, yeah, today we'll have a game night, we'll go for vacation together and everybody will get along. Sometimes it may not work. You'll still see those small compartments coming together, even in a group setting. Utaona tu kila mtu ameanza kwenda kona yake. And it's important to recognize that as a healthy dynamic. And I was giving an example about the two children that we adopted, those nephews. Sometimes they just spend time alone. Sometimes we even give them money to just go out alone by themselves. And then probably we stay with our children or we do other things. Sometimes we also leave them with our children. Sometimes our daughter quotes things that they said or the things they did. I'm like, "Hai, mbona mimi sionangi nikiwa kwa nyumba?" Because they have their own relationship as children that we are not part of. And so it's important to understand the compartments in terms of the small, unique attributes of those different relational dynamics. And then now you keep on building the common ground by now having those together activities. And with time, that common ground keeps on growing. And so that is the perspective of the compartment and the common ground. And of course, I explained some bits more of things that I had probably eliminated. If you watch the other video, they will make a lot of sense. The second video that I did. Yeah, so if you go and watch that one, there's still some more explanations and insights on that. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Now, my next question is for Coach Caroline. You spoke about counter dependence.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Coach?
Yeah.
Coach Caroline, sorry.
Eva, the echo is back. I don't know what's happening. The echo is back from Eva's end.
Am I able to unmute?
Yeah, we can hear you. Carol.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Coach Carol?
I don't know what.
Carol, you're muted again.
Carol, you're muted.
Okay, now my mic is active. It wasn't unmuting. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. You are asking about counterdependency. So counterdependency is a stage where, as we are growing psychologically, so from a very young age, we start from being very dependent on our parents as young children, and then we go and we start to develop our sense of self. And then once we develop our sense of self, then we start to develop interdependency and independency. So as we are building our sense of self, there's a stage where we have to understand that we are a unique person. We are an autonomous being. And it happens around the age of 18 months to 24 months. That's what I was talking about earlier in the week. And basically, psychologically, we start by saying no to everyone and everything around us, because that's how we get guidance on where we begin and where we end based on those around us. So I was talking about the 2-year-old who says no to the mom every time. Everything the mom says, they say no to it. And that's why we call them terrible twos, because they are always saying no. But at that stage, it's a stage where if you understand the psychological process, the psychological development, you can help them develop a healthy sense of self. But now, because our parents did not understand that, anytime we say no to them, we are shown that we are cut to size, because they want us to do what they want us to do. Our opinion doesn't matter. And so you learn that who you are is not enough, it cannot be accepted, is rejected. And so you grow with that. But then there's an age which they call the midlife crisis, where now again you're trying to develop your sense of self. You realize, I've been living for everybody else apart from myself. And so what happens is, somehow you start the same process of a 2-year-old. You start rejecting things around. You start rejecting what they say about community, what they say about politics, what they say about religion, what they say about relationships, because you're trying to find yourself. So that's a very important stage for every human being, because we are brought here into this earth to fulfill a purpose. And you can only fulfill your purpose if you are yourself. And so it's a very important process if you're aware. So at this age, when you're 40, begin to notice. Self-awareness is so important. Begin to notice the things that do not feel like they were your idea from the get-go. They were your opinion from the get-go. They were your desires or thoughts from the get-go. They were your goals from the get-go. What are those? Begin to interrogate that, so that this process helps and supports you to become your own person, so that you can fulfill your purpose and find your ideal partner.
Thank you for that. I was pausing to see whether the echo is still there, but I think it has gone for now. Coach Ruth, please continue telling us about, we've done with the narcissist. Now, a psychopath. Are they similar? Are they different? What differentiates narcissists and psychopaths?
A psychopath has similar attributes to the narcissist, just that for them, they don't fear the law. So psychopaths are the ones who will go breaking the law, and they're not afraid. The narcissist, more often than not, is afraid to be found out. But the psychopath really doesn't care. And that is where the serial killers come. That is where the serial killers fall. So they have similar attributes to the narcissist. Just for them, they are likely going to break the law without feeling nothing, a pinch. So that's how you wonder, how can someone kill so many people and feel nothing about it? And now there could be some biological explanations, some genetics, some chemical imbalances and all that stuff. Yeah, but the psychopath is similar attributes to the narcissist, but them now, they really break the law and they don't feel a pinch. The sociopath on the other side is like the psychopath, but for them, they are made. Theirs is more of nurture than nature. But the attributes are the same. They'll break the law. They have no empathy, pathological liars. They'll hurt you and feel nothing and, move on as if. And they imagine they're high up there. It's nobody else matters, just them. Yeah, so those are disorders. You don't want to find yourself interacting with such a person in a close relationship. They'll really hurt you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Joe Wisdom, karibu sana.
Thank you, Eva.
Yes, we started without you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I was caught up in another meeting.
Yeah.
But I'm finally here.
Karibu sana. We just started with the questions, and maybe I will throw the next one to you that I have is a lot of questions. You talked about mentorship. And we would like you to explain to us what is a mentor and how do we get a mentor, and what kind of relationship do you have with the mentor as you're having your other relationship. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I salute everyone who is on board, and Receive my apologies. I know I was supposed to be here in good time, but I had another meeting. Talking about mentorship, a mentor is a trusted guide by definition, someone you trust and someone that you feel have gone ahead of you, someone you can look up to, and someone you really value. That's what a mentor is. A mentor is more than a role model. Because you can have a role model that you observe from a distance, but a mentor is someone walking with you, someone who is holding your hand. A mentor is someone you can talk to. Actually, we have two levels of mentorship. We have secondary mentors and primary mentors. A primary mentor is someone you can relate to directly, someone you can ask questions, someone you can engage one-on-one. Secondary mentors are people who inspire you from a distance. If someone says that Miles Monroe is my mentor, he can only become the late, that is, he only qualifies to be a secondary mentor because you'll never find him, you'll never ask him a question, he'll never feel you. So when we talk about mentorship, there are those different levels. But again, how now do you relate with a mentor? You can have as many mentors as you can. You can have someone mentoring you in your finances. And you can also have someone else mentoring you in relationships. You can also have someone mentoring you in life, basically, and in parenting, in marriage. And you'll find sometimes you are not able to actually define and draw the line. You find that just because someone mentors you in relationships doesn't qualify them to mentor you in finances. You can be a very good person in relationships and a very poor financial in personal finance or in economics. So you can have as many mentors as you can. You can have someone mentoring you in spiritual matters. And you also realize that the person who is very good in spiritual matters is also very careless about finances. They are always broke. They are always broke. They are always borrowing. So you don't allow yourself to see that person in that light. So let everyone keep their pace. Let someone keep their lane. If someone is good in finances, let them mentor you in finances. If someone is good in relationship, let them mentor you in relationship, and they must know that. If someone is good in marriage and in parenting, let them mentor you in that. And through that, you'll be able to benefit from the wide range of gifted people that are around you. Last, remember, if I can also mention, it's always good to look at your mentor from their strength, not from their weakness. Because sometimes if you look at your mentor from their weakness, you can find someone who is very good in business, but he is very morally degraded. He is very, he's not upright morally. But when it comes to business, very aggressive, and this someone who flows in ideas. So stick to that. Stick to the positive side. Don't follow whatever else they do outside what you are looking up to them up to for mentorship. So that will help you remain objective. And at some point, you also need to be careful because there are also who want to recruit you from the other side. So you must be very, very careful when you are looking for mentors, and look for mentors who have what you are looking for in every area of your life, Eva.
Thank you for that. I wanted to ask my next question to Coach Paps. I think she's gone for a while. Now, Joe Wisdom, you had mentioned gamophobia, the first time when you spoke. Maybe you can define for us what gamophobia is, and if somebody's in a situation like that and they want to get into relationships, how do they go about it?
We thank you, Eva. We have two phobias in relationships, and one of them is what we call gamophobia. The other one is called anoptophobia. Gamophobia is when someone is the fear of being single. the fear of being alone, you know, and this comes as a result of possibly being in an environment where you see people abusing others. You can be, you are raised up in an abusive marriage where you are the parents or your uncles or your aunties were fighting, and that made you fear marriage. That made you fear marriage, and the fear of marriage makes you not get so much into relationships. Every time someone comes close to you, you want to avoid them, you want to run away. Every time you get into a relationship, when you realize that it's becoming serious, you pull out. So that is gamophobia. Anotophobia is the fear of being alone. The fear of being alone. You know, there are sometimes you know, maybe people who suffer from low self-esteem. Maybe you are abused, those childhood experiences, you are rejected, and at some point, anyone that comes your way and they look like they are appreciating you, you want to hang around them. You want, even if they abuse you, you still want to hang around them. You don't want to release them because they are the only people who you think can love you and can appreciate you. Even if they abuse you, even if they are taking advantage of you, even if they are lazy, huwezi waachilia because you feel nikiachilia huyu nitatoa mwingine wapi. The fear of being alone, the fear of being single. And this is making many men and many ladies stick into relationships that are not productive just because of those fears. So there's gamophobia, there's anoptophobia. And maybe Eva, how again do you get out? Maybe these conditions requires counseling. You need to see a therapist. You need to see a therapist. And it's also good to make it very clear, because I know we are also talking to people who are somehow very religious. If you are, and I know some people confide even in their pastors and their pastors' wives, or whichever way it is, and their friends. If someone is not a professional counselor, sometimes you may not bank so much, or when it comes to these things that to aspects that requires experts. So you need to look for someone who will help you from the understanding of the situation that you are in.
Thank you, Joe. My next question is for Coach Caroline. Topic of body shaming, or those ones who are not comfortable with the way they look and they feel, how will he like me the way I am? And my body stops me from moving to the next level, to meeting people, makes me very shy. I don't want to be seen in public. How can you advise those ones who have that fear or that issue?
So what I'd like to tell people is that it's not your body that is stopping you. It's your relationship with your body that is stopping you. And if you do not love your body, then that's why you don't think anybody else can love your body, because you don't love it yourself. And so you must, first of all, start to have a different relationship with your body. I once had somebody saying that your body is also your soulmate, because you have it from the moment you are conceived to the moment you die. You are in it. And so if you're not comfortable in it, if you're not safe in it, then you're not going to trust that anybody else will be. So the first step for such a person is begin to change your relationship with your body. Sometimes it's because somebody very dear to you made a judgment about your body when you are very young. And so you have hung on to those words, you have hung on to that perspective of somebody else, and you have made it your own. Or you have the idea that you can do better in taking care of your body, but then something in you knows that you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And so you are starting to get the guilt and the shame of not following your own commitment to yourself. So whatever it is that is causing your relationship with your body to be the way it is what you need to deal with. Because if you don't deal with it, you're going to be projecting your relationship with your body onto other people. When people look at you, you start thinking they're judging you. And I talked the last time we were together, I talked about relationships being a mirror of your relationship with yourself. So really, it's the reason why you might not be getting somebody is not because of your body. It's probably because you're not confident in your body. And that's why you're not going out there and you're showing up in relationships, in connections, in interactions with that shame or that guilt or that low confidence. And that's what is affecting your interactions. So please work on your relationship with your body. If it's something that is within your control, if it's something that you've been telling yourself, I need to eat better, I need to exercise, and you're not doing it, then it's time to honor your own commitment to yourself so that you can have a better relationship with yourself. Eva?
Yes, thank you very much for that. Coach Paps, I see you're back. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Or
yes, I
she?
can. I can.
Yes, I had a question for you. Somebody had asked about relationships. I'm a single parent. I met this guy, but I have grown up sons who do not want to see me with another man and have told me that they don't accept him or want him. How does a woman deal in a situation like that?
Yeah, so we had that case study for Claudia. You remember that story? And we
Yes.
said that you need to make your own decisions as an adult without necessarily being too enmeshed with your children in a way you don't have your own healthy individuality. And being able to individuate yourself and make decisions as an adult is also telling your children, like, yeah, I know you guys probably don't like him, and maybe this doesn't work for you, but this is what I want for myself. And so being able to have those boundaries also with your children is very important. And of course, by then you're also doing your due diligence. Remember the compartmentalization conversation, it still applies here. In a way, your relationship with your children is separate from your relationship with this guy, so that you don't feel the need that you must blend up into, happy family. Of course, your children are afraid. Your children are also fearing their mother will be hurt again, especially if they've seen you hurt in the past. They are fearing abandonment again if they experienced that. And so those are the fears they have. But if you keep on persisting because that is what you want for yourself, with time, if this guy is amazing, they will warm up to him. They will come to respect him. He has to earn being their stepfather. And like I said, when you think about the step relationship, it is also not automatic, because this is not the original family they had envisioned for themselves. And maybe the uncertainty of what it will be, will he come and replace them? It's important to keep on having those conversations. And we said that you don't over explain or over reassure because you're promising things you can't deliver. Just keep on having those affirmations in terms of, yeah, validate the concerns they have, but you don't have to probably solve all the problems or figure out everything from the word go. Just tell them you're also not sure, but go for it for yourself. And remember that that is a compartment that is different from you being a mommy. And of course, now you being a girl who is dating. So just learn to see those two as different entities that require your wisdom and, of course, your judgment as an adult, and be firm on your boundaries, because your love life is also a boundary that you should protect from your children. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Coach Ruth, you had mentioned three things: narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths, I think was the last one. What's a sociopath?
Yeah, like I had said, as the same attributes that a narcissist has, a sociopath has. But a narcissist has some little regard for the law, kidogo too. Now, a sociopath versus a psychopath, now if I was to compare the two, because them they're in a class of their own, they'll break the law. Now, the sociopath also has a little too, kadogo too, a small conscience, such that he can anagopa kidogo. The psychopath is the one who doesn't fear nothing. So the sociopath anagopa kidogo. The other side of it is that sociopaths are mainly out of naturals, toxic home environments, difficult childhoods that just convert them into that thing. They have been exposed. So sometimes as a way of coping, they just become like, if being nice and vulnerable and sensitive is causing me so much pain, then I'll just flip it and become this other individual. So I don't know whether it makes sense, Eva. Yeah, so they have disregard for the law. They are pathological liars. They have no empathy. They are grandiose, but they break the law.
Wow. Okay.
Without much regard.
So is it? It's not easy to identify them, but if we see those kind of similar behavior, then we know it's one of the three. Or how do we tell?
Well, you may not identify them but they have their own attributes. Like I have a client of mine who, well, I can't say for sure whether she's dealing with a psychopath or a sociopath, but it's definitely not a narcissist, because within a few months of his entering her life, he's really turned it upside down. You know, like he'll beat her and tell her, you go to the police, stalk her at work, and you can report if you want. You get. So that now goes a bit far from what a narcissist is likely going to do. But like I said yesterday, to be able to identify these people, the only way you can do it is to be healthy yourself. Come from the lower side of the chart that I showed you about energy vibrations. Come from that lower side, come to the higher side. You will chat with someone. You may not be able to classify them as narcissist, a psychopath, or sociopath, because you don't even need that classification at that moment. You may not be able to classify them, but something will tell you, know what, there's something about this person that doesn't flow. Something, you know, the conscience, that inner voice, the inner guide. Strengthen it by healing your own traumas and raising your vibrations from the lower side to the higher side. Then that way, even if you can't tell for sure it's narcissist, psychopath, or sociopath, something will tell you this kind of a person, something is off.
Thank you for that. Joe Wisdom.
Yes.
We have been having the groups, and 85% are women, or 90%. Where are we going to find the men to date and to have relationships with?
Yeah, a very good question. But I can say that you know, the women who are here, most of them are not really struggling. Like, okay, everyone is struggling financially, but at least you have a decent life. Our men are out there in the garages. They are out there in the industrial area. Some of them are fighting their way into, you know, men are fighting their own battles. And because of so many battles they are fighting, you realize that even in terms of transition from high school to college, not many men are able to convert. Coming to even the work. Most of the institutions will favor women more than men. So you'll find that these men are hustling a lot. The few who manage to look like they are making it in terms of stability, financial stability, are also the women are fighting over them, and they feel like they have a premium over any other relationship that comes their way. So that is when you hear hakuna bwana ya wenyewe, you know, ati hata Bwana Yesu ni bwana yetu sisi wote. So so some of these men are out there. They don't want responsibility because of their level of exposure. So they are just eat and run. Yakuje apate kile anapata aende. And also, maybe if I can also talk to our ladies, and I think I repeated this statement when I was giving my submission, is that when you get so much used to sleeping with a man before he marries you, that is exposing yourself unnecessarily. And this is a common phrase. We call it the creed for the womanizers. The creed for the womanizers have a creed. Stray kings have a creed. And this creed is that why buy a cow if you can get milk for free? You know, why do I need to marry a woman and I can get whatever I want anytime, anyhow? You know, that exposes women, that exposes ladies. So some of these men are not able to commit because if they commit to you, they will not be able, they will be restricted to interact with any other person out there in terms of their sexual appetite. So I can say that men are there, but they are fearing responsibilities. Wanataka kukaa wakionjaoja, that is some of them. Wale ambao wako church, them that are in the church again, they are not very stable. You know, let me tell you, it's very difficult to see a very stable man in the church and he is not married. And if he happens to be in the church, ujue ushers na, you know, na praise and worship hawana bahati. Wanagongana huko weekend. You know, so anytime you find a man who is 35 years and above and is not married, and I know there are some in this program, any man who is 35 years and above and is not married, I get concerned. I get concerned because you are manhood lazima itakusumbua. It is not normal for a man who is 35. Spams zinakuwa manufactured na unakula vizuri, you have money. Ni nini hii inakuzuia kuoa? You know, afadhali hata tusikie ulioa ikashindikana, but if you are just there, it's very dangerous. Ujue that person is a suspect. Huyo ni mshukiwa. You know. So what I'm saying is that let's be careful. Let's ukipatana na mtu kama huyo as a lady, lazima ujue, lazima umuulize hard questions. They must explain by use of a diagram. If a taller man is 35, 40, they must explain by use of a diagram. Where have you been? What have you been doing? Have you been in another relationship? Lakini mtu asikwambie tu nimekuwa tu. Kama anakuja 40 years, 45 years, either akuje na doctorate ama he is a professor, alikuwa masomo. Kama hana degree na hizo vitu za masomo, akwambie alikuwa in marriage ikakosa kuwork, hiyo utasikia. Kama sio hivyo, akwambie amekuwa na addiction, so amekuwa rehab, that one again you can accept. So sahi ndio anarudi, you can help him rehabilitate himself. So but don't just let someone tell you ati mimi tu nimekuwa, mimi tu. There's nothing like that. Some of these people wamehangaisha watu, wamehangaisha wasichana wa wenyewe, and we need to be very clear about it. As a pastor, I can tell you, nimeziona kwa church. I've seen them in churches. Wakati pastor anasema nimekuwa na a very good brother, huyu brother hananga shida na mtu, hanaga ubaya na mtu. Kile pastor hajajua ni amekuwa akikula mali ya wenyewe pole pole. So Eva, maybe that's what I can say, but men are there, wako huko, wanahaso, wanafanya mambo. Some of them because of the financial stability, and they are dealing with an empowered woman. Some of the programs we are doing in our programs is that we are trying now to teach men how to deal with an empowered woman. Because again, men are fearing, if I get this empowered woman in my house, will I be in charge? Will I be in control? And you know, men hate being controlled. So that is the problem we have. Eva.
One last question, then all the coaches will give one last comment before we close, since our time is almost up. Pastor Joe, a lot of questions about why do men fear women who have children, especially boys?
Eva, unajua kijana atakuangalia na macho ingine. You know, girls are very innocent. You know, a girl is an investment.
Yeah.
A girl hata mkisubuana naye, at some point utakuja kuletewa mali. But for a boy, kuna siku atakuitisha shamba. You know, boys look like liabilities. And boys as a way of challenging. Okay, and I know Akina Paps can tell you in psychology, in child development, there's what we call Oedipus complex. And Oedipus complex is how boys are attracted to their mothers. So a boy, most likely, a boy will always fight with the father. I'll not take you very far. I'll take you in my house. I have a 10-year-old. A 10-year-old boy, anasikianga akikuwa ni mzuri, but it gets to a place at 10 years when they hear me knocking the door, kijana anachukua remote anaficha. That is number one. Number two, he goes to my seat. You know, in every house that there is a man, there is the seat of the father of the house, where the power sits, where power resides. So that boy will go sit there and pretend that he is asleep. What that boy is literally doing, he's trying to challenge my authority. Anataka kuona nitadu nini. So boys will challenge you as a man. Boys, you will fight you because you are trying to bring him down. You are trying to fight there is wrestling in the house when there are two men, and sometimes men will even say we cannot be two men in the house. Hatuwezi kuwa wanaume wawili kwa nyumba. Either ni mimi nasema ama ni wewe. And you find that even a father fighting with a 15-year-old, a 10-year-old, because they are challenging each other. The reason as to why they blend with the mother is because the mother will acknowledge him. Atasema, mimi nikiwa na huyu kwa nyumba, hakuna mtu anaweza niguza. Huyu ndiye security yangu. But the father will try to deflate that boy. And that is where the battle begins. A man sees a boy as a challenge to his authority. And that's why we also need a lot of coaching, a lot of training on parenting. So men will fear a lady with a child, and especially a boy, because kijana huyo akienda kuitishe kitu ukatae kuleta, somehow ataanza kusema mimi nataka baba yangu. He will start to demand he want to his father. And the man will feel insecure. Yes, Eva.
Yes, thank you, Coach. Perhaps you were mentioned in that discussion. You have anything to add before we give our last comment?
Yeah, on the Oedipus complex, I totally agree. That dynamic is also in play at our house. For me, when I think about like where are the good men and all that is happening around us, honestly, for me, everything that I do, including my coaching work and my perspectives in life, is also anchored in the Word of God. And I really love Isaiah 34:16, which says, "None of these shall lack a mate, for the mouth of the Lord has commanded, and His Spirit will bring them together." I don't know, that scripture just slaps for me whenever I am talking to girls, whenever we are having conversations about dating with a purpose. It's that God has promised, and He is the one who knows how He'll bring you together. And it's God who has commanded that none shall lack a mate. So it doesn't matter the statistics in terms of men are fewer, girls are more. No, men are fewer and girls are more. Like all those dynamics, just keep on remembering. Like for me, in terms of the space I am in, God is still able to keep His promise for me concerning marriage. And if it doesn't happen, God is able to still keep on journeying with me. To just remember that as a core thing. And of course, the other thing that I think about, where are the good men? I also feel like that part of also seeing myself as someone who goes into marriage for an assignment. Much as sometimes we think about happily ever after is about me, for me, that is a perspective I always have for wives. You are going into marriage to bring, not to take. Because every time you're always thinking about yourself and what is in it for you, then you don't see it as a place of purpose. And there are sometimes we will get married to families that are not perfect. We will find a bit of dysfunction that we can be able to handle and manage. You will not get anyone who is perfect. And so don't also see yourself as perfect, because marriage also brings its own perfection for you. And so even as you're dating and considering, just keep on reminding yourself, I'm not perfect. I'll not get someone perfect, but we'll come together and create something bigger than ourselves. Live for something bigger than yourselves. Just you're happily ever after and thinking like, this is about me. Ask yourself, what is the big thing that you will do for God? And I remember, like, even me and James, when we were dating those 12 years ago, sitting in a Arboretum and asking ourselves, what is the one thing we would want to do for God? And part of it was adopting children. So even when probably our situation happened and we lost our sister, it was no brainer. It was part of our vision as a family. Live for something bigger than yourself, so that you don't always think about what is in it for me. Also ask yourself, if I get this, how will I be able to do something bigger for God? And I believe for me, that perspective opens your world, opens a whole new world of possibilities, because now you're able to sink in also to hear God as you're dating. Don't just trust your gut, also ask God what is His plan for you. And so that is my thoughts on this whole conversation on where are the good men.
Okay. Any last words? We have gone into last words before we wind up. Any last advice? Anything that you'd like to tell us as we leave Love After 40 Challenge Week? Coach
That is
Babs?
all.
Coach
Oh,
Ruth,
okay, okay.
yes. Coach Babs, yes.
Uh, yeah, let me just go so that I can finish. For me, when I think about the Love After 40 challenge, it's first of all to remember it's a challenge. You know, it's something that you are battling with. And one of the things I was appreciating about all the people who are there, the 1,800 almost, it is your commitment. You know, you are here because you're committed to your journey. You're here because you're committed to do the work. Some of the sessions were very difficult and very challenging. You know, they just rip up those parts that you thought you had together. But keep on reminding yourself it's because it's a challenge and you are also up to the challenge. And so do not give up in this space and keep on hoping, keep on believing. And I also love Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on what you think you know. In all your ways, keep on acknowledging God, and He will direct your path. Even matters of love and relationships, all these things, there's nothing that God can't do for you. Just have that confidence and faith. Even as you step out to go and meet someone that you don't know and someone that you've never met, just keep on saying, I'm showing up here by faith because I believe God has a plan for me. If it doesn't work, you just keep on saying, also, God has a plan for me. I won't give up. I'll still show up tomorrow. I won't allow myself to get wounded in a way I am not able to also seek out life in abundance because that is also God's promise for you. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach Babs. Coach Caroline, any last words for us as Love After 40?
Yes. In addition to what Coach Paps has said, I would like to say that it's very important for you to be very clear about who you are so that you can be clear about what you want. Because a lot of the times we have been programmed about how our life should be. We are ticking boxes, we are carrying other people's desires, we have templates that we are trying to fit ourselves into. And as Coach Paps was talking about God's will over your life, He doesn't tell anybody else what He wants for your life. He tells you, He talks to you specifically, and He talks to you as you, not as the you that has been shaped by your traumas, not the you that has been conforming to the patterns of this world. He's talking to the you that is the original you. So if you can make a commitment to connecting with that original you so that you can connect with God's will over your life and see what do you really want in your life, you will be in a very good place. You'll be at peace, you'll be fulfilled no matter what the outcome. Because a lot of people over 40, they are trying to manufacture an outcome. And that's why you don't see the red flags. That's why you don't see people for who they are. That's why you live in a fantasy because you're trying to manufacture an outcome. So settle and be centered and be grounded in who you are. Build on your connection with God, and then the rest will flow from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Caroline. Coach Ruth, what words of wisdom do you want to leave with us as Love After 40?
Well, for me, as someone who is very much focused on emotional healing, I wanted to summarize codependency for them so that it becomes a part of short, because codependency sounds like this: when you leave, please go with me. When you leave, please go with me. It's like you're in a relationship, you know it's not working, but you are so desperate for it that you're asking them when they leave the relationship, they carry you along. Why? Because your identity has really been grounded in relationships, in other people validating you, and you are not able to view yourself as the authentic self, the person that God made you to be. So I want to challenge them as you're looking for love over 40. Don't just sit down and wait. Develop yourself in all aspects. Be that person that we normally say, I'm looking for this ABCD woman, I'm looking for ABCD kind of a man. Become that person that you are looking for. So don't just sit somewhere and wait for someone to come and complete you, to come and do for you stuff. Be the person, be the partner that you're looking for. And I wish them well. And I know love is coming.
Thank you, Coach Ruth. And Joe Wisdom, what
Yes.
words of wisdom do you have for us as love after 40?
I would want to tell and encourage my brothers and sisters, especially those who are seeking love at this moment, to always make yourself visible. Always make yourself visible. I know for women, you are waiting to be sought. Make yourself visible. Show up. Show up in places where, where good can come. The Bible says that I lift my eyes up to the mountains. Where does my help come from? You know, join if you have a friend who is doing a wedding, be in that committee, be a blessing to that person, sow into what you want to reap. Don't be a loner. Don't just say that you are frustrated. Don't just stay alone. Make sure that you make yourself visible. Then let us also not victimize our other brothers and sisters out there with the two words that we have become very generous with. And I know it was discussed by Ruth. I think Ruth talked about narcissists and the other conditions that are there. Everybody has been branded, narcissist, and especially if they don't agree with what you want. Everybody has become toxic if at all they don't want to do it your way. Let us also know that we might be branding others narcissists, but we are also suffering from the same. Again, we have become very generous with the word, that such that ukiona kakitu kadogo, I'm dealing with a narcissist. Let us also know that these are our brothers and sisters. They might be struggling with things that they want us help them go through. Sometimes we are looking for a ready-made product, yet God want to give us what we call work in progress, so that we can walk the journey. Paps can tell you by the time they are marrying with his dear one, with her dear one, the man was still work in progress. You have to give some input. You have to give them feedback to know what you're struggling with and how they can go about it. Is a journey of personal development. So let us also be positive about the people. Let us also look at the people, look at the person in the person. Maybe you are a career woman, you have a good job, but again, the people who are coming, maybe someone from the industrial area, anafanya kazi ya, he is an engineer, engineer that is not very well defined. But because you want someone who you can present to people, there's that person who is looking, iki kimtu Kenya, hata nikionyesha mabeste wangu hata wao wataona I'm not so simple. You might be looking for that banker, you might be looking for that person, but where is the person who is the person inside that person? So he may not look like it, but maybe he is what he is because of the environment around him. So let us also take that time and study the person. It's not just about the physicality, also look at the spirituality of a person. So thank you so much. I've really enjoyed the conversation. And for those who want to follow up on my programs, I have a very special program called Personal Branding, and especially for people who are after 40. And personal branding is where you come and find yourself. Who am I? Where am I going? What is that thing that is inside me? Because if you don't know who you are, you'll never know when you lose it. We say that you are either a brand or a commodity. So become. We help you walk the journey of becoming. So you can get our details. I think Iva, you'll share with them. If you need counseling, you can see us and we are going to walk with you the journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Coach Paps, Coach Caroline, Coach Ruth, and Coach Joe. We have had an amazing week. We have learned so much. We have all benefited. I have gotten so many comments that the way we were before this week is not the way we are now. You have really enriched our lives, and we have learned so much. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here, for making the time, for teaching us all the things you've taught us. And I don't know what will come ahead, but I'm sure we'll meet again maybe here, maybe somewhere else. And I would want to wish each one of you good luck in all the things you do, even in your coaching. And I really appreciate that you help people make decisions in their life and be better people. So thank you very much, and we shall meet again. This is Eva, host of Love After 40. Santi sana, and good night.